And welcome to the Oldham County Board of Adjustments, Court of Appeals. Today is Thursday, April 21st. It is 9 o'clock and we are now in session. We have 5 cases before us today. The procedures for all 5 are going to be the same. I'm going to swear in staff here in a minute, and I'm going to call on our secretary to read the first case. He will read Mike's going to read the first case. We'll call staff forward. They'll give us a staff report. There's going to be some back and forth of questions between us and staff. When we're done with that, I'll call you, the applicant, forward. You're going to come forward, raise your right hand, state your name and address, and tell us what it is that you'd like to do. You'll have 20 minutes to do so. Clock is on the wall. When you're done with that, there might be a round of questioning by us, the board members, to you, the applicant. When we're done, you may take a seat, and I'll call forward anybody that wishes to speak in favor. And then following that, those opposed. Collectively, those in favor and opposed have 10 minutes. 10 minutes, first in favor, then opposed. When you're done, I'll call the applicant back forward. You can have a rebuttal on any of the opposition. There's 5 minutes for that. When we're done with that, there will be an opportunity for closing statements, and then I'm going to close the floor. And then anybody on the board may ask anybody in the audience any questions that we might have. And when we're done with that, I'll call an up and down vote. Okay. Phones, please make sure they're off or on vibrate. If you need to take a call, please excuse yourself from court. And when you re-enter, just make sure your phones are back off. Board members, make sure your mics are on. And Mike?
Thank you. Docket OC 16-007. An application has been filed requesting a conditional use permit for a second accessory structure located at 14425 River Glades Lane, Prospect.
Okay, let's swear in staff.
Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay. Oops. So before we get started on the first one, do we have the applicant here for the first one?
14425 River Glades. Is anybody here for that case?
Okay.
I will try and call. We'll move to the next one, and I'll try and call.
Move it to the end of the docket.
Okay. All right. Very good. Okay, Mike, if you want to read the second one.
We zipped through that one. Docket OC 16-008, an application has been filed requesting a conditional use permit for an off-premises sign to be located at the 4500 block of West Highway 146 and Cedar Point Road, Buckner.
All right. Good morning. Brooke Radcliffe Veman, planner with Oldham County Planning and Development. So this is docket OC 16008. As Mr. Riley stated, the applicant is requesting a conditional use permit for an off-premises sign for a property located at the 4500 block of West Highway 146 in Buckner. The zoning is I2 heavy industrial, and the total acreage is 2.98 acres. There's an aerial view of the site, and the star represents the general location of where the sign will be located. As you can see, it's located at the corner of Cedar Point Road and West Highway 146. There's an area view. There are no structures located on the property. And this is from 2012, so there have been some patio homes built along Eastbrook Drive since this aerial was taken. There's the current zoning. As you can see, the property in question is zoned I2, across the street CO1 and R4A adjoining as well. From section 290.030, sign definitions, an off-premises sign is a sign that directs attention to a business, commodity, service, or entertainment conducted, sold, or offered at a location other than the premises on which the sign is located. Some notes and issues. The applicant is requesting approval of conditional use permit to allow the placement of signage on the corner of a vacant parcel located at the 4500 block of West Highway 146 and Cedar Point Road. The proposed one-sided 30-square-foot sign advertising Heather Ridge subdivision will be placed on the northwest corner of Cedar Point Road, and as required, it will be 50 feet back from the street intersection. The applicant, Inverness Homes, is leasing the corner from the owner of the parcel, which is Buckner Point Properties, for the location of the sign. The purpose of the sign is to generate more customer traffic to Heather Ridge as well as other Cedar Point Road properties and adjacent businesses. This is from the applicant's justification statement in your packet. Heather Ridge is approximately 2 miles down Cedar Point Road. The applicant does not anticipate any negative impacts from the sign, but expects more commercial activity and awareness of the area. And the applicant is requesting that the proposed sign be up for a minimum of 3 years with the right to renew or terminate the lease after that time. So here's the proposed sign, 6 feet tall, 30 square feet. And here is the proposed location of the sign. As you can see, it's at the corner of Cedar Point Road and West Highway 146. As a requirement, it does have to be located a minimum of 50 feet back from the edge of pavement, so it's not blocking the sight triangle for drivers. Some photos of the site. This is the general area of where the proposed sign will be at the corner of Cedar Point Road and Highway 146. There's a south view again, close up of Highway 146 and West Highway 146 and Cedar Point Road. There's another south view, just giving you a better idea of the general character of the location. Here's a north view, West Highway 146. And this is looking from that same parcel. The east view, this is across the street with CSX Railroad and the adjoining property owner. In the west view with Cedar Point Village as the adjoining property owner to the rear, and then ConAgra on the side. And again, another west view. This is looking from the opposite side of the road. Section 290, 110, off-premise signage. All off-premise signs must receive approval as a conditional use from the appropriate Board of Adjustments prior to the issuance of the sign permit from the Planning and Zoning Office. In addition to any condition of approval which the board applies to an off-premise sign approval, the sign must also comply with the sign regulations for the zoning district in which it is located and shall be counted towards the total number of signs allowed. Off-premises signs will not be allowed to be located within 50 feet from street intersections as measured along the curb or edge of pavement. The placement of one panel on top of another panel is prohibited. The maximum height for all off-premise signs is 35 feet, or the maximum height allowed for on-premises signs in the zoning district in which the sign is located, whichever is lesser. Off-premises signs are not allowed in the city of LaGrange. So this is Section 290-100 on-premise signage. This is I-2 heavy industrial district regulations, which is the zoning district which the sign is going to be located. The sign height that is proposed is 6 feet. So as you can see there, it must meet the other requirements of a 5 to less than 10 front sign setback minimum, and then a max sign area of 32 square feet, which it does meet. So in summary, request for a conditional use permit to allow an off-premises sign located at the 4500 block of West Highway 146 in Buckner. And I can take any questions you have at this point.
Good morning.
Morning.
My first question is, with how many? You made reference that you can't exceed the total number. I noted from your photos that there's already an off-premise sign at this location. So is there somewhere, I didn't see it.
That one is not an, sorry to interrupt you, that one's not an off-premise sign. That is a sign for Buckner Point Properties. There is a regulation in the zoning ordinance that says if you have a 300 or more feet of frontage on a road, you can have 2 signs. So because they have frontage on Cedar Point Road and frontage on Highway 146, they can have 2 signs.
Okay, well, I'm not
For
sure,
I-2.
I'm not sure that it's relevant, but I guess what you've thrown a confusion to me in why is the one subdivision sign going to be off premise, the one application, but the subdivision sign that I saw in the photo is not off premise?
This is not a subdivision sign. This is for Buckner Point, which Buckner Point Properties owns this parcel.
Okay, I understand.
So they're
I understand.
advertising, it's basically a real estate sign for that parcel.
Okay. All right, go ahead, I'm gonna, okay, so this photo in my packet,
That-
this sign no
okay.
longer exists?
This
It
is
has a
not,
green-
that is not a sign that is currently on the property.
This one.
Both of those signs were removed. They didn't realize they needed a conditional use permit for one of those signs, so that's why they're here today. They're just proposing one sign, just the Heather Ridge sign, not the Heather Green sign.
Thank you. So then you showed a table, I believe, with the
Yes.
setback requirements, but I thought I noted for I-2 that the setback was different. I'll check.
Okay.
Is that the only other sign on the property?
Yes.
Okay, any other questions for Brooke? Okay, thank you. And if we can have the applicant come forward?
Did you have a presentation? You don't? Okay. Do you want, is there anything you want?
Yeah. I'll see when I read these last night on lunch.
Good morning.
Morning.
My name is Ray Rowland. I'm the attorney for the applicant being Inverness Homes. And my office is located at 6506 West Highway 22 in Crestwood, Kentucky. And I have with me today a representative, vice president, actually, from Inverness Homes, Doug Partington, who can give testimony, answer questions, and I guess you need to be sworn in.
Yeah, we need to swear Doug in. If you can raise your right hand.
Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
See right there. When it comes to subdivision development that is not on the beaten path, as this one is and has been approved and is getting ready, hopefully, to take off, marketing, advertising is essential. And my client does view this proposed sign as a key component in the ability to market this property. The goals and objectives of the comprehensive plan take into consideration the planned and orderly growth in the community that has already been determined for this subdivision. Yet we also need, again, especially when it's not on one of the main thoroughfares, we also need to guide the potential residents and taxpayers that are going to be looking for property, looking for homes and lots to this subdivision. When you come up to this intersection, you've got the ConAgra warehouse on one side. Directly across from this intersection is simply the land between the railroad and Highway 146. You have the condominium units right behind it, and just to the LaGrange side, I'm directionally challenged, but just to the LaGrange side of the property, you used to have that lawnmower repair, and that's been torn down. We think that this sign does also meet the goals in regard to economic development for the county. It's going to put more rooftops and more taxpayers. So the success of this development is not only important to the developer itself, but also to the community as a whole. Of course, the sign regulations permit off-premise signs if they are approved, and that's exactly why we are here. I'm not going to repeat the presentation that was done, except for one thing. We would like to have a double-sided sign, because this sign can be positioned so that it can be viewed with traffic coming from LaGrange going towards Buckner, as well as coming from Buckner going towards LaGrange. And so we would like to have approved a double-sided sign. It would be identical on both sides. And it would be important to be able to alert the people looking for this property coming from both directions. And did you have any comments?
Well, we appreciate your time and consideration. We want to be good neighbors. We're really excited about Oldham County and are looking for other opportunities within the county. But, you know, we build quality homes, and what makes our community, Heather Ridge, appealing is the fact that it is somewhat obscure. It's not on a major thoroughfare where it may be a little more noisy and so forth. This is clearly off the road, off the beaten track, which is what we think our customers are going to find appealing. And it's critically important for us, and we advertise a great deal. We do a great deal of internet marketing through our website and so forth, and digital marketing. So people are coming to the community with the intent to visit our location. We want to have this as an access or to accentuate the direction and location of our property. But like I said, we want to be good neighbors. We're excited about the community and want to be part of it. So.
Okay.
Are there any questions?
The question that I had is based on the application, it talks about the 3 years, which you already have the agreement with the landowner, and then a renewal, but doesn't, so is it for an additional 3 years? Is it, you're asking for a total of 6?
No, we're happy to come in and reevaluate it, or have you reevaluate it at the end of 3-year period. We just wanted to have some longevity. We anticipate the sales pace and so forth would substantiate a 3-year plan, but just wanted to have the right from at least the property owner to consider allowing us to lease it again. If that requires additional, review on your part, we have no problem with that.
The lease itself is actually a 2-year lease. There is an option for an additional 2 years, one additional option.
Okay.
They're obviously hopeful that this subdivision will be developed within that 3-year period.
Now, let me also note, you mentioned that you wanted the double-sided sign. I believe in the packet it does say single-sided, so if I'm not mistaken, so that'd be a departure from the application.
That is correct.
What about lighting?
It
You
will
plan
not
on any?
have lighting.
No lighting?
No.
Okay. Any
We
other?
anticipate having our model home open between a minimum of 5 to 7 days a week. So it's critically important that we do that. Our office hours are typically from noon to 6. So, we really don't need the lighting. We don't want to impede any other issues or create any other issues by having lighting or anything.
Would you be opposed to putting some restriction and saying the sign shall be removed the earlier of 4 years from the date of approval, or when all the lots are sold?
Yes, that's more than reasonable.
Okay, any further questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anybody here wishing to speak in favor? Opposed? Okay, any other final statements? Anything else?
Since this sign is so critical, we would just ask for your consideration in approving this conditional use for this off-premises sign and for it to be two-sided. Thank you.
Good, thank you. Okay. Board members, any questions to anybody in the audience? Okay, I'll close the floor, open it up for discussion.
Seems right within what the regulations are set up to do, so I have no
Agreed.
issues.
Okay. I'm willing to take a motion.
Move to approve OC-16-008 for the conditional use for a double-sided sign in the size as proposed within the packet, because it is desirable to the community and not in conflict with the elements, objectives, and policies of the comprehensive plan, because the evidence presented today shows how it meets the regulations, how it is now in compliance with the disapproval for having a sign on the property, and it's desirable given the facts of needing housing and those kind of things in Oldham County, and the potential impacts on the community and surroundings are appropriate. Conditional use shall only apply to the plan considered at the April 21st, 2016 Oldham County Board of Adjustments public hearing. The sign shall be removed the earlier of April 21st, 2020, or when all the lots are sold in the subdivision. And a condition would also be that the sign will not be lit.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second?
Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? It's been approved. Okay, Mike, if you'd like to read the next one.
Docket OC 16-009, an application has been filed requesting a conditional use permit for an accessory structure without a primary residence located at 3805 Terra Drive, LaGrange.
Okay, so docket OC 16009, the applicant is requesting conditional use permit for the construction of an accessory structure without a primary structure. This is located at 3805 Terra Drive, zoned R1. It's 2.79 acres approximately, and the land use is residential. The lot is vacant. So here's the aerial view. So you can see the lot in question is circled in red. And an area view with the structures and drives. Section 250.030 accessory uses and structures with and without dwelling units states, no accessory structure shall be developed until after the start of construction of the principal use of the building site, and no accessory use or structure may be used unless the principal use or structure has been developed, except after the review and approval as a conditional use. Except as otherwise permitted elsewhere in the zoning ordinance, accessory uses and structures shall be located on the same parcel as the associated principal use. Some notes and issues about the application. The applicant is requesting a conditional use permit to allow an accessory structure to be located on Lot 12 of Terra Oak subdivision without a primary structure. The applicant purchased 3805 Terra Drive in 2015 with the purpose of building a garage on the property and has no plans to build a home on it. The applicant's primary structure is located at 3503 South Highway 393 on 7 acres, and this particular lot adjoins the rear of the lot with the proposed accessory structure. The proposed garage will be located on the rear of the lot with access to the applicant's existing driveway located on a private drive which accesses off of Terra Drive. The proposed 2,304 square foot metal garage will be 12 feet in height with a 10-foot porch on one side. It will have concrete floors, overhead doors, and will be fully finished and insulated. According to the applicant's justification statement, the remainder of 3503 South Highway 393, which is the applicant's primary residence, is a steep wooded hillside and is not suitable for a garage. The proposed building will not be close to any existing structures, will complement the character of the neighborhood, and the lot will be mowed and kept. And this is also from the applicant's justification statement. Again, just wanted to go over the regulation. No accessory use or structure may be developed until after the start of the construction of the principal use of the building site, and no accessory use or structure may be used unless the principal use or structure has been developed, except after the review and approval as a conditional use. So here is the lot in question, circled in red. Highlighted in yellow is about the proposed location of the garage. It will access off of the existing drive here, which leads back to the applicant's primary residence, 3503 South Highway 393. Here is a view from the intersection of Terra Drive and the private drive. And as you can see, 3805 Terra Drive does front on Terra Drive. Here's the east view. You can see the adjoining property owner, 3807 Terra Drive, to the east. And this is the north view, looking the private drive, which is unnamed. As you can see, 3805 Terra Drive is to the right, and then to the left, which is the adjoining property owner to the west, is 3803 Terra Drive. Back in that wooded area is about where the proposed area for the garage will be. Here's another view of the left side yard, which is facing north. This is the applicant's drive to their primary residence, and the proposed garage will be not approximately in this location, but around this area. Here's a west view, so this is a view across the street. It's 3507 Terra Drive, which is the adjoining property owner to the west. This lot has not been developed. So this is, as you can see here, there's a stub street there. It's an access easement that hasn't fully been built out yet. This is the 10-foot drive easement there, and then the private drive, which is unnamed, just to give you an idea of what the right side of the property looks like. And then here's a view looking into the applicant's primary residence. This is their long drive. And this is 3805 Terra Drive. Here's the south view. This is looking back toward Terra Drive. 3805 Terra Drive, which is the lot in question, is located there to the left. And again, just another view of the yard, 3805 Terra Drive. And here's the site plan with the proposed garage. You can see it's located in the rear of the property and will access again off of this existing drive. In summary, the applicant is requesting a conditional use permit for the construction of a 2,304 square foot accessory structure on 2.79 acres without a primary structure. And I'm finished. I can take any questions you may have.
Could you go back, please, to that one previous slide that shows the overview there?
Yes.
I had a couple questions. One, you spoke of this easement.
Mm-hmm.
Is there undeveloped property there that that easement is for? Why would that be there? Do you know, or?
I'm not exactly sure what that's for. That may be a question for the applicant.
Okay, may not be important. Secondly, You testified that the applicant is going to tell us that he doesn't have a place to put this on the primary lot there, but it seems from this overview, there's plenty of room.
I don't
the size
testify
building.
that. That was in their justification statement.
right. You just-
But yeah,
right.
that might be a question you can
Like,
ask
well,
the applicant.
but you went out there and took the pictures. I mean,
I couldn't actually go back onto 3503 South Highway 393. I just got a picture from the
Okay.
road.
all right.
That their lot, and you can't really see it very well in that aerial. I might have it zoomed out.
We have the
Yeah,
topo
so
as
this,
well.
they have 7 acres back here. And it's heavily wooded. So that might be a question for the applicant, whether they feel like they can put another structure on that property. But I didn't actually go into their property.
Is that off to the downhill side or the lower on the picture? Is that a secondary structure already on there? Or are you aware?
Yes, this one here, and that would be
Right.
a question for the applicant what that is, but it is a secondary structure.
Okay,
I'm not sure if it's a garage or a shed, what it is.
all right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Hey, Brooke,
Yes.
this unnamed road, when it intersects with Tara Drive, is that a county-maintained road?
I'm not sure. I would think it's a private drive.
Well, it's private drive all the way around?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any further questions for Brooke? Thank you. We can have the applicant come forward. Morning.
Morning, I'm Jarv White, I'm the applicant for Lot 12.
Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do. Yes, I bought Lot 12 back in 2015 for the sole purpose of building a garage on this property. I wasn't aware of the primary structure requirement at the time. I own 7 acres back there, and it is, I mean, I could put, at one time, I could have put a bigger building on it, but the outbuilding that's there is rather small. It's wood floor. It's not a garage. You know, I don't have a real good place on that property to put a large garage like I'm wanting to build there on Lot 12. And I've got, you know, lots of items to get in and out of the weather. Like I said, I can't, you know, I have a total there of 9 acres in the 2 lots, and you know, I mow. I got tractor, bush hog, you know, lawnmowers, trucks, trailer, 4-wheeler, boat, you know, lots of equipment to put inside out of the weather. And as I said, that's the reason I bought Lot 12. You know, and this will be a very nice, attractive structure. As I said, it's not close to any of the other properties, structures. You were discussing the drive, the road there. I think that's state maintained, that unnamed road going back. I think the state, they plow it every winter, so. Now, there's another lot, the 35, it's that back corner lot there. I'm not sure, Lot 10, I believe. The state owns that. There was a house there and it was moved out when the new interchange was put in. So, I guess that's about all I got to say.
Mr. White, looking at the, we have a topo map, part of our packet. Looking at the map plus the picture that we have before us here, it does look like that there's plenty of space, including where the existing shed is, for a larger,
That's very steep. My lot, that whole 7 acres there is very steep. Like right there where my house is not even on a completely level lot. So,
well, but by the topo map, it looks like where it starts going down is about where the tree line is. Is that not the case?
tree line? You mean there at the back of lot?
On the existing picture.
Yeah, everything on the back side of my driveway there, that is total drop-off. I mean, that's a ravine. Basically, where my house sits and my front yard is more or less level, and everything else is a steep
Right,
grade.
and what about where the existing shed is?
Yeah, that's on a somewhat slope, yeah.
Tell us about the character of the building you're proposing.
Yes, it'll be professionally built. I have, the typical plans here, if you would like to see those,
Finish, is it metal building, wood
yes,
building, sided? What is it?
it's metal, 36 by 64. Plastic Buildings in Clarksville, Indiana will be building it at a cost of approximately $70,000. It'll be a very attractive structure, overhead doors. Like I said, I believe it'll be an asset to the community.
When you say 12 foot in the packet, does that mean at the peak or at the
No,
top
that's
of the door?
the wall height, basically, the eave height.
Okay, will there be a second story?
No second story, no. Have a 10-foot wide porch down the one on the backside,
Okay.
towards my house.
What activity do you plan on conducting out of this building?
Well, storage, hobbies, like everyone else, I've got lots of stuff that needs to be put away, and I don't have anywhere to put them at the time. And hobbies and, metalworking, woodworking, and I do my own maintenance. I'm retired. I like to work on my own things. This would be personal use. This will all be for
No
personal
commercial
use.
activity?
No commercial activity, really.
I don't mean to be distracting using my phone, but I just want to clarify with staff, the letters that we received on this case, the applicant has received those as well, the letters of opposition?
No.
No?
We're not required to give those to the applicant.
Okay.
They did turn them in 7 days before the hearing, so we were able to give those to you as testimony.
Okay, all right, so I just wanted to make that
And
clarification.
I think some of them may be here to speak, so
Okay, so while you're here, I'll pose this to you. We got a couple letters on this case of people that are opposed to this, but some of the points they make, that you had previous complaints of nuisances, is that,
Of what?
of nuisance complaints regarding the maintenance of your current property?
Back in about 15 years ago, yes, I applied for the second accessory building there on that lot, and it was going to be close to lot 3509, I believe, yeah. And I had some complaints about the, like I say, everything sits outside, so.
Is the lot that you live on now, is it 3503? 3803 or 3805, is that part of the subdivision? It's not, or it's not?
The 7 acres at 3503, 393, no, that's not part of Terra Oaks subdivision, no.
Thank you.
While it would make an odd-shaped lot, have you considered consolidating the two?
I asked the planner about that, and we discussed it, and it was like, one or the other, really, so I just, since I bought the lot, there's really no reason. I mean, I just
This is one.
figured this would be the best way to go. She did discuss, mention to me that if I combined it, there was one clause about it would be, the garage would be in front of
That's right.
of the house. Yes. Okay.
So if you did not, if this was turned down, what would you do with the things you're proposing to put inside? And the second question is, where are those things now?
Yeah, now they're sitting along my driveway there, the access road back to the outbuilding there. I parked everything along there.
Okay.
Like I said, I would like to get all that cleaned up and put into out of sight.
If it was approved, then would you be open to restrictions that would limit your ability to put things between the building and the main road in the front so that it wouldn't be an
Oh,
eyesore
yes,
that way?
definitely, yes. No, I plan to keep this neat and mowed and, you know, everything will be out of sight and, yes.
Okay.
I don't, I know this has been asked and answered, but I just want to address it one more time. This topo, I don't believe you presented. Brooke, would you mind putting this up so we can look at it collectively?
Good point.
Oh, it was, okay, so, if you focus on the gray area, 3503, which is your current house, and again, I just push this one more time, it does appear to me, in my reading of this topo, that there's ample space, just to the, I guess that would be, I think that's the south, but, standing at the front of the house, to the left of the house, or basically where your driveway comes in, it looks pretty flat to me for more than this size.
Sorry to interrupt you. Either way, he would have to apply again for a conditional use
I understand
permit
that.
for a second accessory structure, and that request was denied in 2000.
I understand.
So I'm not sure what the purpose of going, right now we need to focus on this lot,
Well,
which is
part of
the
that
lot in
focus, the
question.
purpose, Brooke, part of that focus for me is if there's a building site on his 7 acres, then that affects my thought process as to whether or not to approve this choice to build off that. If there were absolutely no building site on the 7 acres, then that would have some influence of whether or not we would
I
approve this.
just was making sure you weren't trying to lead him into a
Yes, ma'am.
different application.
Thank you. I'm not, I'm just, whether or not I'm going to approve this, but I appreciate that. So again, back to my point, there appears to be a flat spot to the driveway side of your home, more than sufficient to build this size building.
I'm not sure exactly the spot that you're referring to, sir.
Hang on, right there where I just drew the green dot.
That's a ravine. That's a steep ravine.
That's where your driveway currently exists today, right?
Well, it kind of comes out this way, you know.
Right, it goes down
Right.
like that.
Yeah, there's not that, I mean, the driveway basically comes in right against the edge of the house there, and to the other side of that driveway is a steep drop-off. And, I mean, the lot is pie-shaped there, and it's not very wide there anyway. And like I say, it's a drop-off.
Okay.
You know, the topographic, I guess, has some indication there of, you know, how steep that whole lot there is.
I think if you look at it, my understanding is the way the driveway is on that flat spot. That is the
And that's-
driveway.
That's it, and the other side of the driveway, it drops off.
Yeah, and from the topo map, the only other place that I see, oh, what just happened there? Is where the shed
Lost it,
is.
sorry.
Would be somewhere in this area, right? Or where the shed is the only other place, looking at the topo map, that
It
might be
basically,
possible.
yes, yeah. In 2001, I was going to put it back close to the other lot, and that's basically about the only little flat spot left, you know.
Which would require a driveway in front of the house.
That's right.
Brooke, do you know what the interval is on this contour map?
I'm sorry, I don't. I can,
2-foot interval? Okay, thank you. And the scale, do we know the scale? Can you tell me the dimensions, the rough dimensions of your home, please?
The dimensions of my home, 32 by 56.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any further questions for the applicant? Okay, thank you, Mr. White. I'd like to call forward anybody that wishes to speak in favor. Opposed? Yes? If you'd like to come forward, please. Are all of you going to speak? Okay, yeah, if we can get you all sworn in at the same time, just raise your right hands.
Do solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Okay. And who are we going to start with? You?
I can start with me. I'm just basically here to defend my property value.
Let's get your name and address.
Okay, I'm Karen Best at 3903 Red Oak Court.
Step a little bit closer to the mic
Am
so
I?
we can hear you.
Oh,
Over here.
okay,
Yeah.
sorry. Okay.
And Brooke, can you put up another picture with the different, thank you.
And you can draw on the screen, so if you, I'm not sure where your house is, but
Where is my house? I don't know. Is this
are you Red Oak? or
Red Oak?
Okay, this is
3903.
901. So
think
are you
I'm
back
over
here?
here.
Okay. He's back
Yes.
there, you
Okay.
can't see it.
All right, we're good.
Yes.
Thank you.
So if that is where my house is, and when I look out, I'm gonna look across the street, and, I mean, I know it's at the backside of that lot, but I still will be able to see it. And currently, I can stand on my property and see, I think 9, that would be the 9th, like pole barn. And it is a residential area, and it feels more like an industrial park. And I don't know, I'm just opposed to it, and I do believe that each lot is supposed to have a home on it instead of just like a barn. And I just think it's depreciating the value of my property. And that's kind of all I have to say.
All right, thank you, Karen. Yes, sir? If you can state your name and address.
Wayne Cunningham, 3803 Tar Drive.
And Wayne, if you can just tap the screen, there we go.
Yes,
Thank
sir,
you.
right with that's my house and workshop right there with the blue top. They're the same color, the same style, made out of the same thing. And I just want to oppose the garage being built there because like Karen and most of the other neighbors in the subdivision, so like if I go out front or back, I'm just looking at garages. And it's supposed to be strictly homes and it's just a garage back there. And to me, they should all look alike. And Mr. White owned the 7 acres back there. Like I say, it doesn't live in our area. Yet he wants to build a garage. It says it's metal. And understand what kind of metal is it going to be? And I just would like to see, that it not be there. And we got to stop all the garages and buildings that are being built in our area. It's like Karen says, you go out the back and that's all you see. Or you drive down Tar Drive and you see garages and workshops. But most of them around there, they have the house and they have like I do, have my house and I have my garage. And state owns, like I said, Mr. White said, the state owns lot 10 back there. State owns lot 9, which is the one on the left-hand side of me. And the lot 10, I also have first right of refusal on that piece of property.
I'm sorry, which lot is, which lot?
Okay, I'm 3803, and that's lot 11.
Right,
That's lot 10.
Thank
That's
you.
lot 9,
all right.
right there. And I've spoken to at least 3/4 or more of the people in there, and everybody opposes the garage.
Okay, thank you, Wayne. And yes, ma'am, you wish to speak?
Yes. Nancy Lewis, 3807 Terra Drive. And my apologies, I just came home from chemo in Nashville last night, so I'll be a little more scattered than my normal.
Nancy, I apologize. Which lot is yours on the picture?
Once you
This one.
circled.
Okay.
I do not see how this is going to increase my property value. Only suspect it as decreasing my property value. My parents still have a farm in Trimble County. I am incredibly familiar with metal garages and metal sheds and their appearances. So I cannot see how this can be a attractiveness to this residential neighborhood. I think a site visit may be in order to get over the controversy of how much flat space there is within the 7 acres versus, the topography map does display some areas. Then that brings into question if the 7 acres is not that usable. I don't understand why there's a need for that much of equipment that does need to be, housed and stored in this building. But most primarily is that I do not see this increasing the value of any of the properties in the neighborhood. I know that there are other issues when there were contingencies and restrictions brought on. I was made aware of Dan Perkins on Houston Lane and Peewee Valley, that's an outstanding issue for you folks, that conditional use was approved, things not met as designed, and now there's another issue to revisit on that piece. I do respectfully request that if you do approve this, you give me the opportunity to get my house ready to be put on the market so that I can get my house sold and move from Oldham County before construction starts, because I do feel like it's going to be a detriment to my opportunity to sell my property.
Okay. Thank you, Nancy. Okay, anybody else wishing to speak in opposition?
I have questions for them.
Yeah, okay. Each one, or,
At least the last two of the two ladies.
okay? I can get you two to come back forward, please?
Karen, I'm sorry, I don't remember your last name.
Yes.
You had referred to that this would be the 9th such building in the area. Can you explain where, because you're speaking actually to the character of what's going on in the neighborhood. So can you point out where those are in the picture that are there?
Okay, then I am 30, I don't know how to do this.
You can just touch the screen.
Just touch the screen.
Where am I? Oh, wait a minute. Okay, so who's 3901? Is that Rusty?
No,
Somebody
that's,
help me.
That's Jim. This is
Okay,
Jim's house.
Jim has 3 on 3901.
This one right here?
30, yes, there's 3 little outbuildings. One's small, and then there's a red one with they're all different colors, and that is so.
Okay, so can
He
you,
has 3, and
can you go to
that's
the
right
next-
next to me. And then if you look out my back door, it kind of goes, Elder Park Road is behind it. There are 3 back there. Well, help me.
Yeah,
Which
it's off
But you
off the
can't see
screen.
it on
Right.
my
Yeah,
screen. I
because
can't
it's more
see
towards
it.
Elder Park.
okay?
But my neighbor, he's 3903. He has 3 buildings. He has one that runs along my driveway, one directly behind me, and then if you cross, but I can still see it. If you cross Elder Park Road, there's another one right on the corner of Elder Park Road and 393. But you can't see it from this,
And she's talking about the gentleman with the playhouse on the silo.
and that's behind my house as well.
Okay,
And then my neighbor who is, let me see if I can find them. Where is Marvin and Peggy? They have an outbuilding. And then the one in the White House behind me. Is that, I am so
Yeah.
turned around. See, I
It's
can't
all-
see it.
all-
It's
It's all
down.
down that way.
It faces Terra Drive though. I don't know their address.
It used to be
And then
Mr.
there's-
Cobb or somebody else?
No.
Okay.
No.
okay, and then there's a building on 3803, which is in the picture, which is, I believe, your property,
Yes.
correct? All right,
So, I mean, we're pushing 8 or 9 buildings around, I mean, I can stand there and look at each one of them, and they're all a different color, which is not really attractive for a neighborhood, and most of them have, like, one of those, I don't know if it's a lean-to or they call it that little,
covered area that's
yes,
not got
off.
sides
And then
on it.
there's junk all under it, there's mowers, and it looks bad.
Okay.
It's, yeah.
All right, and ma'am, you're at 3807, correct?
Correct, yes, I'm here.
So your opposition to a building there but the alternatives we've been discussing would be to put buildings on his property which would be directly behind your home. And so you do realize that alternatives exploration, that you're being against the building over here, would be to put one on his property. So I just want to understand, because it seems, my question is, and I'm asking you're clarifying, why opposing being over here as opposed to directly out your back door?
Okay, his property is not in the subdivision. The subdivision restrict, and the other piece that I left out is I looked for my home for 11 months, and I've been there 17 years. I read all of the restrictions in all the subdivisions. I was aware that he's not in the subdivision. There is this, I can no longer draw.
It's probably me, did I touch
I don't
something?
know. So anyway, this tree line, there we go, this tree line there does camouflage the majority of what's going on in his property. This is a corner lot here within the subdivision and is very open and exposed. Yes, this is an eyesore that we're working on what we can do to deal with. The neighbors are in discussions of getting an association together so that we can help to manage the random issues that come up like that of this property. This property used to be kept like a golf course, but current owners are not doing that as much.
So then to ask the question a different way is, if he was approved to build a building at the back edge of the property, where it would be moved farther backwards between the trees, that's, for example, back on the back, which is what we see in the application as being restricted, then the views from each side. And then what he said in his testimony is that then some of the things that are currently stored outside would be put inside. From that testimony, it sounds like a better thing for Oldham County and the neighbors for those things to be stored inside, especially if we put restrictions on the fact that he couldn't store those things outside. And let me add to that just a little bit before you answer that. An alternative, if he owns this property, he could take stuff and put it on the property without a building.
This is
And
true.
so the question is, which is the worst eyesore for you to consider? Is where I'm trying to figure out what's the best thing for you and your neighbors.
Okay. This is still seen, even with those trees there. This is still much more visible.
Right?
So, yes, if he just starts putting random junk cars there, that's going to be an eyesore. But and I don't have the restrictions with me to review, but I almost think that there's something in the subdivision restrictions that do prohibit that.
If you're talking about deed restrictions, that's
No,
not
the
before.
subdivision.
Yeah,
The
that's
subdivision
not
piece.
our,
But is
that's a separate, you want to help me on that one?
We just can't consider deed restrictions or subdivision restrictions. This board can't take, what we can do is take in consideration general character. So if a subdivision restriction says, certain colors or whatever, that's things that we can take in consideration just with general character. But we cannot enforce or uphold deed or subdivision restrictions.
Right.
Yeah, and just, as you can, this is a house, this is a house, this is a house. It's, the residential, it's going to not have the same residential look and feel.
Okay.
It's not gonna look like a subdivision anymore.
And it is
Yeah.
and it's at the entrance of the subdivision corner lot in the beginning.
Very good, thank you.
If I may, before you leave. Karen Best? Is it? Okay. So my question for this subdivision is I'm making the assumption, and I'd like you to either correct or affirm this, that this subdivision was, like many in Oldham County, was formerly a farm and was converted into subdivision, divided, and lots sold.
Correct.
So then my question, that being true, is that some of these lots that have multiple outbuildings, are those buildings a legacy of that farm? So I heard a silo mentioned?
There's one next to the silo, the old barn, that was original to the farm.
So the silo
And then there
and the
was a
farm.
silo next to that. But the rest of them are not original.
Had been built,
Have been previous, I mean, since people purchased their property, they've added them.
but then that was the lot that you were referring to that had 3 structures on it? The silo, the barn?
No.
Rusty's.
No, well, Rusty has 3, but they're not all on the same plot. He
Yeah.
owns like 4
Multiple
pieces.
plots.
But Jim, I don't know where he is, 39
Yeah, this one.
One.
He's got 3 structures on his. One is a small, I don't know.
Yeah,
And
none
they're
of
all
those
different
structures are to
colors.
the same size of what is being discussed here either.
Okay, so we've heard multiple lots in this area have multiple buildings, different colors, et cetera. So we've heard that a few times from the different lots. Okay,
I agree with her that I think maybe a site, like to go on site and see if there's enough room on the 7 acres
okay,
would be beneficial.
And how it impacts the subdivision.
okay, all right, we will discuss that here in a second. Wayne, did you have one last thing? I need you
I
to
have a
come
question.
forward.
I have a question, Larry.
Okay, ladies, if you could sit tight. Wayne?
Yeah, Mr. White says it's gonna be a 36 by, I think it was a 64 building, and then there's gonna be a shed on the back. Is that,
The porch.
yeah, like a porch on the back?
Covered open area.
So
Yeah.
what is, if it's gonna be insulated inside, what would you want the other on the back for?
Okay, we'll bring that up here in just a second and get that answered.
That's a good question.
And we'd like to know what kind of, I know it's metal, but what kind of metal building?
Okay. Mike?
I have a question for these residents. How old is the subdivision?
I don't know the answer to that.
I know my house was 30 years old when I bought it, so now it's getting close to 45, 50 years old. I do know this was the first house in the subdivision, the Fergusons, so.
And I've lived there 25 years. So
As close as I
don't-
can
I don't really
get
know.
you.
You mentioned the term deed restrictions that was developed by homeowners association. Do you all have a homeowners association?
We do not have a homeowners association. We are in the process of forming one because this is becoming more of an issue as some of the original owners are moving out. There's more stronger need to form a homeowners association. And I know there are subdivision restrictions that I received when I was looking at purchasing the home. I do not know why Mr. White did not receive those subdivision restrictions, and now we're definitely figuring out what can we do to enforce those, where it says primary residence must be, or a single-family dwelling is to be built on each lot first.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Any other questions for opposition? Thank you. Okay, Mr. White, if you'd like to come forward, you've heard some of the opposition. If you'd like to give us a rebuttal on any?
Yes, well, as in regards to the number of structures, outbuildings in the surrounding area, yes, I kind of assumed that set a precedent, that, it's okay to do that. And they're all over the place. Like, well, most large tract residential lots have pole barns, garages, on them. And yes, there are lots there that have multiples, buildings on them. As far as the, Mr. Cunningham mentioned the lot 10 back there that the state owns and the one next to it there joining 393. We share the first right of refusals on those on that lot. And we have discussed purchasing that from the state, just for more privacy. So just there again, he mentioned the garage, the porch on the back. It's just a common design for those type structures. It's just a nice porch, and it would be on the back side of the building, away from the road. And as I said, there would be no, from Terra Drive, you would not see, there would not be anything outside, I have no plans of building a house on that lot. I bought the lot for a garage. So that's about all I got.
Okay. Any rebuttal by the opposition?
we ask questions based on what he just said?
We can?
Okay. So then, to be clear, in your testimony, you're saying you would be open to restrictions that says, if you were standing on Terra Drive, that there would be nothing stored that side of the building, or either side, only potentially in or on the side away
On my
away
side.
from Terra Drive.
And it's, that lot kind of goes up on a hill there. The majority of that lot is not, you can't view that lot from Terra Drive. It goes up and then levels off, so.
Were you going to, how far back would it be? Because can you pull up the picture where you had it kind of, I know it wasn't an exact, yes, right there. See, that picture shows it more out here, so it's more seen, as opposed to farther back, which if it was more amongst the trees, it would be less seen. You see what I'm saying?
Okay, well, when you get from there on down, the lot, it falls off. And right there where that building is, it's perfectly level. That's, that's just, and there's trees, these trees in the front here, that was just the best location, the ideal location for the building right there.
Would you be willing, as part of a potential approval, to plant more visual barrier trees and things on the side closer to Terra and to maybe even to closer to 3807?
Sure.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Yes, ma'am. This is an opportunity for rebuttal on opposition.
Just want to clarify that there's a little bit of fall off right here in the very front, but this area here is not more than a foot, 2 foot. To the naked eye, there is no fall off of this lot here. Visually, you can see it here. This may be the most ideal prime level spot there, but it's not a great dramatic fall off in that lot area.
Okay. Okay. Any other, okay.
Any other rebuttals?
Rebuttals from opposition? Okay, we'll go to final statements. We'll have no new testimony, but if there's any final statements, and we will start with the opposition first. Any final statements without? Okay, and final statements, sir, from you? Okay. Board members, do you guys have any questions for anybody in the audience?
Yes. From the applicant, please. So back to the site of where it's at. Again, if it were to be approved, you're saying you really don't want to push it back any further than what was shown on the previous slide?
No, not really. I don't see what difference it would make, for one thing.
Visual.
Sorry.
Visual.
Visually, I mean,
the difference would be visual, and I'm wondering whether or not that would be impactful to your neighbor's opposition. If it was further back, where there were mature trees on either side of it, or if you store nothing outside, it had trees on either side of it, it would potentially, I wonder whether it would impact their opposition.
I see what you're saying, yes. There again, I can't see it making that much difference, sir.
It's your application.
Yes, I mean, if I could, yes, move it down. I don't want to. It's just not, it makes it more expensive to build, for one thing. It increases the price of building the structure because you have to, the foundation. And there's probably 3 foot, I would say a 3 foot drop there, and it just would not look as good on the property. And I would have to remove some of the trees that are there to get it there. Like I said, I would be willing to plant more trees. That's not a problem. It would not, hide the building that much more by moving it back, is what I'm saying. It just wouldn't take it out of view completely, like if that's what you're thinking, you know.
I'm questioning whether the neighbors would be less opposed or even not opposed if it was more out of visual range. And you got to understand that there are 4 people up here who are going to vote
Right.
based on the fact of what your application is as it stands, as opposed to what it could be. And if the neighbors' opposition change, that may or may not impact their votes up here. I'm
Okay.
questioning whether or not there's a way
You're right, I
for
understand.
everyone to get what they want.
Right, I understand, yeah. Yes, I could move it down, you know. I don't want to, but I could move it. Distance-wise, yeah. Okay, yes. I would be okay on moving it further back. Like I say though, if you can see the way the tree, there's some nice trees there, nice pine trees on either side of that. And to move the building down, I would probably have to disturb those trees. You know, there's a good chance that I would have to either remove some or disturb some of those trees. So that was one of the reasons why I wanted it in that location.
And that makes sense, I understand.
Okay.
Can we ask questions of the opposition about
Sure,
whether that
sure.
would change?
Thank you, Mr. White. Okay, who would you like to call forward?
I'm, for the 3 people who have spoken opposition, would that be impactful if the applicant would move the building farther back? Would that alleviate some of your concerns with restrictions placed on storing things outside of the building to the sides or to the back facing Terra?
And those, yeah, those speaking would have to
Answering
come.
would have to be up here, please.
I would still prefer it not to be there. I think he's got plenty of space on his own property, not in our subdivision. I feel like residential needs to stay residential and not just a building. So no, it would not make a difference for me.
Okay?
It wouldn't make a difference to me. I still would rather it not be there. And another thing I would like to say about the piece of property is, he says
They're finding them rebuttals now, so we got to be careful about new testimony, correct?
If he's responding to your question, that's one thing. If you're going.
Yeah, we've,
Yeah, if you're responding to my question, then we're in the rebuttal phase, so that's fine. If you're going to bring up a whole new point unrelated to what I've asked, then we're past that point.
Okay, yeah, backwards or not, I'm still opposed to it.
Okay?
My response is skeptical because of my concern that it took you a while for him to clearly understand the impact that moving it back would make. So I'm skeptical that it would really happen even with the restrictions, and that it would be something that would have to require a lot of management investigation.
Okay.
Ask a question, Stan.
yeah,
Jim?
Jim?
Explain why there could not be a consolidation, if any. It seems to me they could consolidate this, put it into one track, even though it's in the subdivision, the other track is outside. I think you can consolidate, and then what would the impediment be at that point as far as the application is concerned?
Well, there could be a consolidation. However, there would be a whole new application in front of you. One would be for having a second accessory structure on the property, a conditional use permit, and the other being that the accessory structure be in front of the primary structure.
Which in this case is a little unusual because it would be separated by a lot in between. I'm not, that's something that you'd have to address, and they would have to address, but is that,
I'm not sure about the lot in between. If it was
Well, there's a-
consolidated on the backside, there'd be a link that would make it, again,
There would be other property between the house and the building.
that's what
in the drawing that's on the screen right now, remember, the yellow lines and the red lines are not accurate surveys. They're for planning purposes only,
But it
so.
appears that they are joined at the one point
They are.
there, which would be where the Z would
Yes.
take place.
Yes.
Then it becomes one lot.
And then again, there'd be another application for a second accessory structure on that same lot and having the accessory structure in front of the house.
Understand, I'm just
Right.
presenting an option.
So,
I may address,
yeah, go ahead.
if I may address the same point, and maybe it's too complex for us to be able to answer here, but the one property is zoned residential and within the subdivision, and the second property that we're considering the question of consolidation is zoned agricultural and not within the subdivision. And so would the resulting consolidation of these two be residential and in the subdivision, or agricultural and not in the subdivision, or can we even answer that question here?
I don't think you can, because that would, certainly the existing lot is in the subdivision, so
So-
it does complicate whether or not the applicant would even want to put the existing 3503 into a subdivision, or whether it's, I don't think we can answer that question.
Yeah,
at
and
all.
so the suggestion to consolidate them is probably too complex to bear on the question of whether or not this applicant should be,
I think it's irrelevant to today's case.
right.
Okay. Any other questions for staff? Thanks, Jim. Any further questions for anybody else in the audience? Rob? Okay, I'm going to close the floor for public hearing and open it for general discussion. Board members?
I would just throw out there that I'm, would be strongly opposed to this application, given the testimony. The two factors that are most important in my mind is the evidence of the topographical map showing a 2-foot contour interval, and applicant's testimony of the size of his home gives me to conclude that there's ample space on the driveway side. There is the picture that's on the board now to build a building that is of the size that he's proposing. I would support a site visit if other board members needed that in order to make that conclusion. And the second aspect is with regards to the character of the area and the buildings that exist, and I always choose to let my past be an inspiration and not a limitation. And looking forward, it's clear to me, at least, that we do want residential areas to remain residential and agricultural and industrial areas to be so, and this has clearly been designated a residential area, notwithstanding the fact of the deed restrictions and whether or not the opposition could take that to some other authority to enforce that. Notwithstanding that fact, the applicant has testified that he clearly has no intention of ever building a residence on this home, and so it would leave it with a garage-type building for 20, 30, whatever years, 40 years, however long the applicant's fortunate to live. So given those two main points, I would be in strong opposition to approval.
Usually when we have a packet that's given to us and there's a building of a structure involved, there's usually renderings attached to the packet. Either I don't have the renderings or they never were. So I have a hard time making a decision on a building that I
Provide
don't.
any renderings, and it's not a requirement, but they can supply them as supporting documents. But I don't know if at the time when he submitted the application, he just didn't have the building elevations yet. It was not submitted as part of the application.
Okay, that's my first point on that issue. The other issue is that Terra Oaks has been around for a number of years, and by your all's testimony, by the residents, there are other properties that have different type of buildings on them. And as I was making an on-site review of this case last week, I drove around quite a bit and noticed that almost everybody has stuff sitting around. And so I got a little challenge with this one on both sides.
The problem, as it probably became apparent in my questioning, is that someone building a building and taking the stuff that's sitting outside and putting it in a building and then being open to restrictions to not put stuff outside of said building sounds like an improvement to me. And you know, when you look at the alternatives, I mean, Steve, you bring up the fact that you believe there's an alternative building site and it based on topography. I guess I wouldn't be opposed to tabling the case and seeing if that's the case, because I would be surprised if that was true based on the fact that you got to have a driveway, and based on the driveway, then could you have a building and put it back there as well. So I wouldn't be opposed to a proposal to table the case. Then beyond the fact of taking stuff outside and putting it on the inside, I would also say that I think where the opposition was speaking to their case when it was presented that there are 9, this will be the 9th building within view of a house, that sounds like actually the opposite effect, because you're saying it's in character of the neighborhood to have such buildings, which is the opposite effect, I think, of what the opposition was trying to make the point. And to your point, there are several buildings when you look in the neighborhood and you see what the neighborhood is like. So for me, if it's about visual, because that's what we heard, visual, and that's why I was trying to figure out if there's a way to move it back amongst the trees and make an impact, and then the fact that he's willing to put other trees, plant other trees to lessen the view. I don't know that you completely block it, but at least lessen the view or break it up. Then for me, I'm inclined with serious restrictions to say this would be a unique property, because obviously he came before planning and zoning staff, and they decided to go this route as opposed to doing the whole putting the two properties together and doing different things to make that happen. And so for me, if they go the alternate route, I believe it could be approved from a different angle. It would be a different question, obviously, and not the case before us necessarily. So I'm inclined to think that putting stuff in a building is better than having stuff sitting outside of a building or having things parked on this property.
I agree with all discussion. I think we're probably all on the same page. I too would be in favor of tabling to do a site visit. Short of that, I'm leaning toward not approving this. But before making that leap, I would recommend doing a site visit.
You could also maybe discuss whether it'd be better to have an engineer's professional evidence submitted regarding a building site behind the house.
Yeah, okay. Very good. Any other discussion?
On the point that was just made by our esteemed attorney, if we were going to act in favor of allowing an engineers to look at this and make that determination, I would want to include an opportunity for the opposition to engage a professional to make that same determination. And so, in other words,
I don't know if that would be necessary. If we're looking at engineers to position a garage on the existing property, it doesn't have anything at all to do with the neighbors, right? So if the applicant, if what we're saying is do a site visit with an engineer for potential location on the existing property.
Oh, I'm sorry, I misunderstood. With our engine, with the Beth.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
Or whomever.
I don't think you want to start employing our county engineer to go do a site visit and determine where this thing goes. I don't think that's an appropriate use of a county employee. I'm sorry.
Okay.
It's up to the applicant.
Yeah, I didn't say for the county.
I know, but it just sounded like,
No, I wasn't thinking that at all.
Oh,
sounded like you said Beth, and,
I did, because that's what I thought.
yeah.
the direction we
I
were going.
think it's up to the applicant if they want to hire, and it probably would just be a surveyor to determine the location based on topography, and it's not up to the county engineer to go out and look out.
Agreed.
Very good, very good.
Thank you. So then I go back to what I said. For me, it's twofold, the 2 points, the site being one of those points. And so I'd be prepared to vote today. However, I fully support the notion of a site visit or the alternative that was suggested
I'm-
here, if we wanted to do that.
Sounds like it sounds like there's enough here about site visit. I suggest we propose a motion to table it and do a site visit. I make such a motion.
As a point of order, just to make sure how this would work, previously when we've done this, we've done that site visit today and come back into session. Is that what's being suggested, or that we do this next month?
No,
Nope, not today.
table it for
I can't.
another- we table it
Yeah.
another.
Okay, so it'd be for a different day.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, so the motion table for a site visit on a different day other than today, and come back and revisit this case.
Let me suggest that since this is a public hearing, that that date be set, because if you're going to do a site visit, I think you want anybody who has an interest in this case to be able to have the opportunity to be there. It's what we've done in the past.
Okay.
Yeah, we either
so-
set it for the next meeting or 2 meetings.
Or at Tuesday night at such time, or whatever it might be, but I think you need to set that during,
Bring this
this,
as part of the motion.
yeah, I think so. It would be preferable in my mind, and that way, everybody has an opportunity it's a continuation of your meeting when you go on a site visit.
Right.
You're gonna have a quorum, you're actually gonna reconvene at the site on a certain date, and it
You're
is a
not,
public.
and you're not going to have any discussion amongst the various staff members or the board at that meeting. It's a visit where you individually observe what you want to observe, and you bring it back to this body to discuss at a later time.
Okay, thanks for that reminder, yes.
Can it just be like the first thing we do at the next meeting?
You can, or it can be tomorrow night, or,
Whatever you
yeah, whatever we want. Do we want it to be,
I would propose to be the beginning of the next meeting. For my schedule of traveling is going to be.
We don't know how many docket items are going to be, and if you go do that now, what the next applicants for the next month, when do they come to the meeting? Is it 9 o'clock? Is it 11 o'clock? You know, that difficulty with doing that first. And I know you don't have time today, but it's always more convenient either at the end of this particular agenda or set a separate time to do it, because again, then we don't backlog everybody else that has to spend their day coming here for a different application.
We do it the opposite. We do it as the last case of the next meeting.
Can we do it at like 8 or 8:30 of the next meeting, a date?
Yeah, I
If
do
we
that.
do it, then we won't push back,
We have to advertise a special meeting.
which you would do anyway if we're
we
picking.
would do that anyway if it's a different time. It would be my preference to do it in an evening, 7 o'clock tomorrow night, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, next week. That'd be my preference. If we wait until the next meeting, is that not going to delay bringing this case back before us?
I could do it next week at Tuesday evening.
I
I'll be
can't-
back in town by then.
I can't
Your
do
first
Tuesday, but I
case
can
is
do
not going to
Wednesday.
be heard today, so you will have time from another hearing from the first case. So you're down one case already.
Okay, that changes things for me. Yeah, so if we only have, do it today at the end of this meeting?
I can do that.
I can do that.
I too. Mike, you good at the end of this meeting? You cannot.
We'd still have a quorum though, wouldn't we?
Oh, we still have a quorum. Tuesday, you can't, next week, Tuesday evening,
I can- I
Wednesday
can.
evening,
I can do Wednesday.
I can do Wednesday.
Wednesday evening at 6:30, 7 o'clock, Mike?
Well, this will.
This is his last meeting.
I think you should try to accomplish it today. And
Correct.
Yeah, if we put
Okay.
it off to the next meeting, Mike won't be in on the vote, so we.
Okay, very good. All right. So why don't you make the motion to have it today at the last part of this meeting? We will have a quorum. Get it done.
Okay. I make a motion to table this docket number.
Well, you're actually amending, you've already made a motion in a second.
Okay.
You're amending your motion to include a time to convene on the, recess here and reconvene on the site.
What he said.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? It's been tabled to the end of the meeting.
Amy, was that the original one withdrawn today?
We haven't gotten to that part yet, but
Okay,
yes.
all right.
It's not been withdrawn, it's asking to be postponed to the next meeting.
Okay.
Okay, Mike,
Okay.
you like to read the next one?
Docket OC 16-010, an application's been filed requesting a road frontage variance for a proposed tract located at 5201 Bennett Lane, LaGrange.
All right. Good morning, Amy Alvey with Oldham County Planning Development Services. As Mr. Riley just stated, this is an application for a road frontage variance. Property is located at 5201 Bennett Lane. The property is approximately 141.3 acres and is zoned AG1 Agricultural Residential and CO1 Conservation Residential. History on the property: on July 15, 2004, the Oldham County Board of Adjustments approved docket 04-026, a road frontage variance allowing a 32-acre tract to be created with 40 foot of road frontage. This was requested by the previous owner and not the current owner, but there was a division of the existing farm that cut off 32 acres back in 2004 by the previous owner. This is the aerial view of the lot, or of the farm. Like I said, it's a large tract of land there. This is the area view. You can see this is the house and barn here, and then these are two other barns that are located at the rear of the farm, or midway of the farm. The applicant is proposing to create a new tract consisting of 1 acre that would encompass the existing home on the property. Sections 020040 and 030040 state the minimum road frontage requirement for parcels in AG1 and CO1 districts less than 2.5 acres is 150 feet. This is a plan that was submitted by the applicant that shows the existing house. They are proposing a 40-foot access easement from Bennett Lane that will go along the existing drive there, and then the 1 acre tract will encompass the existing house. The picture to the right of your screen, the star is the location of the home that the property owner is proposing, the location of the home that'll be on the property there. And then you can see in relation from the star to the green square the distance.
I'm sorry, I see that there is a distance, but I don't see any scale that tells me
It's
the
not
distance.
scaled, just so you know how far it is. I mean, they're not built within 30 feet of each other. The new home is going to be located in the center of the 140 acres.
Okay, thank you.
This is just give you another aerial representation of the cutout of the 1 acre lot, and then in location from, again, this is where the proposed new home will be constructed in relationship to the existing house that's on the property. The applicant builder for the property owner has been contracted to construct a new single-family home residence on the remaining 140 acres to be occupied by the owner. The Oldham County Comprehensive Zoning Ordinance, Section 010060, Establishment of Districts and General Regulations, Item B6 states, every building hereafter erected or structurally altered shall be located on a lot as herein defined. In no case shall there be more than one principal structure on a lot in the zoning district of AG1, CO1, R2, R1A, except as otherwise provided in these regulations. So that is the general statement, that you can have one primary structure per lot. The applicant is proposing a 40-foot access easement along the east property line for ingress and egress to the lot via the existing driveway. The driveway is also used for access to the barns and the remaining 140 acres. The proposed tract would have 0 road frontage on Bennett Lane. So again, this is just a review of that. This is the west view. This is Bennett Lane here. So that is looking to the west. This is the east view. This is the east adjoining property owner. There's a new home under construction on the tract there outlined in blue. That is your east adjoining property owner. This is the entrance, the drive, which would be the 40-foot access easement, and then the home there is circled in red. This is just a zoomed-in picture of the current home that's on the property. This is the adjoining property owner to the south. And again, this is Bennett Lane. And this is on the other side of Bennett Lane, which is a large farm as well. And this is section 020040 Agricultural Residential District Property Development Regulations. It meets everything there and that's listed in black with the green checks. What they are lacking is the minimum road frontage of 150 feet. So again, the required road frontage is 150 feet. The proposed road frontage is 0. They are requesting a road frontage variance of 150 feet.
My recollection from previous cases is that the zoning allows up to 3 homes to be off the same driveway,
Off of an private access, yes.
which this would be 2.
It can serve 3 parcels of land.
Yes, but this
Would be 2.
This would be 2 for this application.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you, Amy. Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
The property owner and applicant are both here.
Okay, very good. Let's have the, both come forward. Property owner and applicant will get sworn in. Okay, if you can raise your right hands.
Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, and state your name and address.
I'm Jay Hall, and
I'm Debbie Hall.
we live at 1503 Kamer Drive, LaGrange, Kentucky.
Okay. Anything that you'd like to tell us beyond what staff presented?
I think Amy did a pretty good job of stating the facts. The reason we want to do this is quite simple. We would like to build a home on the property that we own, and because of the restriction, we can't have 2 homes on the same piece of property, so we're establishing this separate tract for the home that's there now. The house is still functioning. I have a gentleman and his wife that help me with the farm that live in the house right now, and the house is about 64 years old. It's in good enough condition that I wouldn't want to tear the home down, and it's their home that they live in, and so obviously I want to keep it there. And so in order to build my own home further back that will be a second residence for my wife and myself, may eventually be our retirement home on this farm. We're making this application.
Okay, very good. Any questions for the Halls?
Any other commercial activity planned beyond what's currently happening as a farm?
Not at this time. I don't want to say that I'll never develop this property, but I didn't buy this property with the intention of developing it. You know, I don't want, you know, I am in that business. I do develop land. I don't know what's going to happen to the rest of the neighborhood, but I'm trying to keep this property and fix it up and as a working farm. It's a long process. It's been a work in and been a long work in progress to do that. I'll spit the words out here in a minute.
There was some question about the distance between the existing house and the new home site. I think that's about 1,100 feet.
You can see one from the other, but it's a pretty good piece.
Okay. Further questions?
I think there may be a couple of the neighbors here, and if they have any questions at all, I'd be happy to answer them.
Question? Good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a seat. I'd like to call forward anybody that wishes to speak in favor. Okay. Opposed? Okay. Anything else you wish to, any final statements? Okay. If you'd like to come forward, ma'am.
My name is Wendy Gleifelder. I live at 5200 Bennett Lane. So what this is...
Wendy.
Going in first.
Oh, sorry.
Do solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Yes. So what this is all about is just the main driveway going all the way back to the new home, or they're not planning on developing this area? I mean, I moved there so I could be away from people, but I'm just concerned, it's just gonna be the long driveway, correct?
What they're proposing is just to, right now, this is the shape of
Right.
it. They're requesting to cut out this 1 acre and have the house just on the 1 acre, and then this will be the 140,
Okay.
and build a house on the 140 there.
Because I live across the street
Yeah,
from
let me
them, and
find your picture.
I'm just,
Is this you here?
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
Concerned with all the traffic and stuff that comes in and out of there, so.
So they're, basically what they're asking is of the 141 acres, they want just the house to be on 1 acre. That's what they're asking. And then this will be the
Well,
access
I wasn't
use for
sure if
this.
it was about the house that's being built right now.
No.
but
May I, what I would suggest is if the existing house was closer to the front property line, and it had 150 foot of frontage, it would be broken off and they wouldn't be coming before us. But because it's farther back
Right.
and they're providing an easement to it, that means it's in violation of the 150 foot frontage. And so that's the only thing that would be approving or denying today, would because of that. So if it was at the front and had its own 150 feet, they wouldn't even be here today.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Jim, would you like to come forward?
I just wanted to tell you that when the applicant came and talked to us about this, because the occupants of the existing house are farm workers, there's a clause in the zoning ordinance that says they could actually do this and put another house. We can have multiple houses on a farm. We recommended to the applicant that they do this, that they go ahead, instead of having 2 houses on the property, go ahead and ask the Board of Adjustments for this, simply to make that existing farmhouse on its own lot.
Makes sense.
Thank you. Okay, we were in final statements and questioning by the board members. Anybody else? Any other questions?
Not sure I have a question or not, but I'm just reflecting on what Jim just said, that if I understand, then there may be the option of not requesting this, but building the second home anyway, because the existing one would be designated for
There are
tenant labor. Is
there are
that right?
provisions for farm hands and tenant farmers to have provisions for living on farms. So you could have multiple homes on a farm as long as it's a working farm and the people that live in those structures are farm hands that work on it.
Staff felt that it would provide more clarity to the issue if we did it this way.
Correct. Correct.
All right, any further questions? Okay. Close the floor. Open it up for discussion.
Pretty clear.
Pretty clear. Ready to take a motion?
Move to approve OC-16-010. Based on the evidence that there would be 2 residents only per this access road, and the limitation is 3, so it's within those guidelines. And the other evidence presented about how this fits in the property and the reasons for a second residence to create clarity, and a suggestion by the staff. Move to approve the variance because it will not adversely affect the public health, safety, welfare, and will not alter the essential character of the general vicinity. The variance shall only apply to the application considered at the April 21st, 2016 Oldham County Board of Adjustments public hearing.
Very good. We have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed? Application's been approved. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, the first docket, the OC-16-007, we just need to, I called the applicant, they had a conflict, did not make it. So they have asked for that to be moved to the May meeting, and I'm assuming, Tate, because the docket was read, they would need to make a motion to table that to the May 19th meeting? Okay.
So
And it'll be
moved.
heard then.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? That's been tabled.
And clarification, you're gonna go do site visit, come back and make a decision? Or are you gonna finish out the rest of the meeting? I just want
Everybody's
clarification
timeline.
for,
I'm available.
I'm tight. So anything we can do to,
do you wanna go on and do the minutes?
let's go ahead and do the minutes if we can.
And then make a motion to go out, do a site visit?
Well, but procedurally, aren't we going to have to determine whether or not we're coming back or close this
Correct.
hearing?
Yeah, I thought that already, the thought process was to go do your site visit after this meeting is closed and table the docket until either I guess the
May
next
meeting.
meeting that we're gonna have. You have to decide that.
I thought that was the original intent, and if you're running close, then I would suggest that we do that.
I'm fine with that. So what
The-
we're going to do is a site visit. We're not going to have discussion per se,
Right?
That's right.
right?
That's right.
Okay, but what can we do while we're there? I mean,
Walk around, look around, see what you,
Aye.
the applicant can be with you if you wish, but you're gonna walk around and check the topography is basically what you're doing on a site visit.
okay?
And you're not making any decision there, you're just familiarizing yourself with the topography of this gentleman's property.
Okay, because it's his property then.
Yes. Well,
He
yes,
can, he's going to, he has to approve us coming onto his property, right?
That's right.
And then it's up to him whether or not he lets anybody else onto the property because it's his personal property, correct?
I assume that's why he's still here.
Okay.
Yeah, we cannot just invite ourselves onto his property. We're assuming that he wishes us access to review that as it affects his application.
My only point that I want to mention, and I defer to Rob 100%, but that Mike has heard the testimony here, and when we convene next month, he won't be here, and any other board members that are here will not have heard the testimony. They can certainly review that, and I'm sure there'll be another opportunity for questions if they have those, but I just throw that out as a point, not as a...
I appreciate what you're saying, and here's the situation. If we're going to go out there, walk around, and come right back, and get right back on it, then I can, my time is tight enough, but I can make that happen. So I'm not opposed to that if we're going to go get lunch and everything else.
I think, yeah, that would be the better option, especially if Mike's gonna be,
With Mike, let's do that. Let's
Wanna do that?
But let's go there and then come straight back.
because that's gonna put you all in a bad position.
It will.
Later
It will.
for.
Okay.
So you're gonna come back
We're
and we'll
coming
do
back.
minutes at that point.
That's right.
So let's leave now. So you need to make a motion.
Adjourn, and then
I think you recess and you reconvene on the
recess.
property.
Well,
Do we want to...
then you'll open it
Just
back up
for-
on the property, come back
Yes.
here, and then you'll reopen again.
Motion to recess
And then
and reconvene on the property.
reconvene on the property.
And the applicant has agreed that you can enter his property.
Okay, so that's exactly what I need, a motion to recess, and reconvene on the property.
So moved.
Second.
Have a second?
Second.
Here I go.
Second.
Discussion?